Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman, members of the House Government Operations Committee. Mr. Chairman, Sharon Minneke is going to come up on a separate panel. I think there was some confusion with signing. Okay, thank you. I'm Lorenzo Bellamy, Alexander and Cleaver, here with Blind Industries of Maryland in opposition to House Bill 116. I want to just address a couple of the questions that were mentioned, a couple of the issues that were mentioned. I think the pricing committee, ladies and gentlemen, that BISM has established basically looks at the prices of products and can make a determination whether or not those prices are too high or too low, or if there are problems with the procurement of that particular product. The Secretary of General Services already sits on that pricing committee and has input on the prices and on the relationship to his own agency in procuring those products. So to now require him or require BISM to report to the Secretary, who already sits on the pricing committee and has a role in determining those prices, I think is, it just is redundant. And I think that this bill also is an attempt to essentially circumvent the current procurement process that we have in place. It basically is in violation of COMAR. And we think there are certainly less intrusive ways to address this issue than to have a bill that could potentially have a negative impact on BISM as an institution and certainly on their blind and visually impaired employees. Second, I'd like to say that we have talked to Delegate Kipke about this bill and definitely look forward to working with him and when it goes to subcommittee if that's your choice. We do think, and there was an offer, and we have not amended or the bill, but we have talked about if the legislature wants to have a role in this process, then we suggest an amendment that would add 2 additional members to the pricing committee, and those 2 additional members could be one from the House of Delegates and one from the Senate. And therefore, legislative issues or issues that you have with the pricing committee can certainly be addressed, and you would be well represented by the 2 members of the House of by the General Assembly. So I'm going to now turn this over to Christina Davis and Greg Califat, both with Blind Industries, to talk more about the specifics and the impact that this bill will have on BISM. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Greg Califat, Blind Industries. Some of the questions already asked touched upon what I wanted to talk about, and the first thing I'd like to say is the whole definition of 10% is very troubling, and it was touched upon by the lost leader question. When a salesperson from another commercial entity goes into a state agency and says, I have that for $2, and we might be $3, we might be $4, and the procurement is not for that one item, it is for a list of a dozen items. And that person is not going to have a product that is such a low price as you had mentioned on all 12 of those products. So it becomes, what we're doing here by giving a number like that is, one, circumventing COMAR, but secondly, it opens the door to pricing strategies on the part of commercial vendors that are definitely not in anyone's best interest but their own, and I would use the word predatory pricing practices. If we were to call those low prices competitive, then again, there is a rather, as Delegate Kipke said, a robust oversight of the pricing that Blind Industries has established, both when the state contract was let and in subsequent years as pricing changes are requested. So it is covered. It again opens the door for the predatory pricing, which, and if you have, as the delegate suggests, salespeople from all of these commercial entities in all of the state governments, there are going to be some prices let out that will not really serve the government in the long term, because that is the pricing today. What is the pricing tomorrow? Our pricing is published, and it is long-term pricing. And that's really all I had to say. Thanks.
Good afternoon. My name is Christina Davis, and I also work at Blind Industries and Services of Maryland. I oversee the communications and the rehabilitation side of our agency. BISM employs 500 people in 11 different facilities. We do manufacturing. We do retail. We have people in our administrative offices who are blind and visually impaired. We have service contracts, and we do a variety of things as well as rehabilitation. Over 200 of the people that work at Blind Industries and Services of Maryland are blind or visually impaired. We do believe that the bill was put forward in a way to make things better, but there is a major impact that will occur at Blind Industries and Services of Maryland. Our current sales to the state are just over $8 million in fiscal year 2011. If we are to lose the state business, Blind Industries and Services of Maryland will have to lay off 47 people, 32 of whom are blind. I have 15 of my associates who have requested to be here and are in the audience today. I'd like them to stand up. They're representing the different divisions that would be shut down. We would shut down call centers to DHMH. Our customer service division would be shut down. We would have to eliminate our rehabilitation programs. All of our youth services would disappear. 75% of our senior services that we offer and 50% of our adult services would have to be cut. We have people from sales and marketing. We have people from our paper production line, our janitorial sanitation production line, our water production line. We also have representatives from our cutting division who are not impacted but wanted to stand and be a part of who we are in our Baltimore operation. All of the loss of jobs would come from our Baltimore operation. That is where we service the state and its products. I think that it is important to know that Blind Industries is the only agency like its kind in the state of Maryland. We're the only place where you can get structured discovery rehabilitation services. We receive a state grant from the state that is $531,292. That enables anyone, child, adult, or senior citizen who is blind to come to Blind Industries and receive free training. Blind Industries spends $1.5 million on this training. The state pays for a third of it. The money that we generate and the excess revenue that comes from production and call centers and other jobs is what pays for the difference in the shortfall of what we do in rehab. We touch hundreds of lives. We keep people employed in a market that is across the country known to have a 70% unemployment rate. And we urge you to find House Bill 116 unfavorable.
Any questions for the panel?
And I guess this is the group that I need to talk to. And I'm trying to have, I've heard everything that you said, and some of the things that you have just said are very good. But you have a warehouse, and do you have a big warehouse and truck drivers in your industry?
Yes, we operate in Maryland. We operate 4 manufacturing facilities, 2 in Salisbury, 1 in Cumberland, and 1 in Baltimore. Our facility in Baltimore, where this bill would have the largest impact, is 156,000 square feet in southwest Baltimore County.
My question to you is this industry unionized?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I just needed to know that, so I need to go over there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Cow, what is your position with BISM?
I'm Director of Sales and Marketing.
Let me the Blind Industries, that's a nonprofit. Am I correct?
Yes, you are correct.
And how much taxes does Blind Industries pay to the state of Maryland?
Well, that's not me. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. Do you know what, for 2010, what the net profit of Blind Industries was?
Again, you're asking me as Director of Sales the financial questions of Blind Industries, and I'm not in the position to answer those questions.
Is there anybody here that can answer any of these questions as they're vital to this important bill?
May I answer, Delegate Constable?
Absolutely.
Sure. We do not have that information here at the present time, but we certainly will get that to you. And if this bill does go to the subcommittee, then we will certainly have it and can discuss it there as well.
It's public information, so, I mean,
Yes.
Does $1.2 million in net profit sound close for 2010?
Yeah.
I didn't think we made money last year.
I think we did.
I didn't think we made
That
money in
doesn't.
fiscal year
That does not sound correct for 2010.
It's public information.
on our 990s.
How about cash reserves? Are you aware of the amount of cash reserves Blind Industries of Maryland kept for 2010?
Are you talking about investment portfolio?
Just total actual cash reserves.
Do you know the answer?
No, you don't.
Okay.
Does $2 million sound familiar?
Again, you're asking questions that I don't have that information.
And to the lady in the middle, you sounded like this bill is going to just totally devastate and shut down Blind Industries of Maryland, and that was the impression that you gave us.
Not our entire industry. It'll have a great impact on our Baltimore operation.
Even though you have $2 million in cash reserves, a potential loss of $800,000 is going to devastate the business?
But our job is to employ and offer opportunities. If we don't have the business and we don't have the sales, we're not going to have people that are just sitting there.
And you say the state pays 1/3 of
our rehabilitation.
Over and above what you make from the state of Maryland, and with the $2 million of cash reserves.
I'm sorry, I'm not the financial side. I did not bring our audited financial statements, but I can provide them to you.
I have them,
Okay.
but if you can provide them to the whole committee, it would be wonderful.
Sure.
One other thing to Mr. Cow, you kept saying that this was a violation of COMAR. Do you realize that COMAR changes dozens of regulations every week as a result of outcomes of legislation during the Maryland General Assembly session?
Well, but this one exists in the present form as of now, and that's all I'm testifying to.
Well, but are you aware that if this bill were to pass, then the COMAR regulations would most likely change?
Would be substantially changed, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the good work you're doing. I want to pick up where Delegate Costa left off. I've gotten in the habit of looking at 990s of nonprofits when they come before us, and I'm not going to ask you to answer because you made it clear you're not the financial people, but if this bill moves along, I see lobbying amounts of over $500,000 on what's called lobbying non-taxable amount, lobbying expenditures $2,223,000 since 2006 through 2009. So I'm not prepared to interpret it, but that's what you filed on your 990, so I'd like to get a better understanding of that. And it also has executive salaries well over $300,000, at least one or two cases. So, you know, these are things that when we're putting in the money, we want to make sure that the money is in fact going to the folks who need it. And one other question, if you can answer now, great, and if not later. Of the services that you're employing blind people or through the contracts that you're doing, how many actually involve blind folks themselves actually doing the work, and how many are say, contractual pass-throughs? Because certainly, as I'm looking on your website, you're not manufacturing plastic bottles. At least I don't think you are. You're not manufacturing janitorial supply chemicals. So what is the role that the manufacturing part that BISM does?
The roles are various. No, you are correct. We do not actually. We do formulate some of the soaps or chemical products that we sell, but of those products that are purchased, they're purchased in totes, large containers, and then utilizing blind labor, they are either remanufactured or repackaged or poured, labeled, and assembled. There are various, and no, none of the blind employees in the Baltimore operation which serve as the state are contract employees.
Right. And our our blind sighted ratio in Baltimore is consistently over 86% blind to sighted ratio in our Baltimore operation.
Thank you.
Chairman, very quick question. I understand you guys are a 501c3, so presumably you have a volunteer board.
Actually, our board is appointed by the governor.
Okay. Do you have executives with executive compensation?
Salaries?
On your 990, you're required to list executives who are paid.
Yes, I believe it's the top 6.
The top 6, and there are 6 slots that are filled out?
I can't answer that question, but I would assume we meet the requirements, the new 990s, and I know that our accounting department.
What I'm saying is that you don't. Some organizations don't have 6, so they'll list out what they have.
I'm not sure.
Okay. Would you happen to be familiar with the